I'm processing some real crazy stuff. It's like, this is for parents out there. I don't know if moms, you deal with this, you know. I've been dealing with this a lot, so I feel like I should say something about it. But, you know, I never really talk about these things until I've processed through it. I've had like really understanding. I've looked at myself all the way and know that I'm not tripping, I'm not bugging, and I've seen a pattern of these kinds of things happen. And I'm like, oh, this is not an isolated thing. This is a pattern of something happening, and it's specific to me. And it's just like, and it has to do with my children. And I just wrote this somewhere and saying that it's like people wants to experience a version of me through my children while acting like that version of me doesn't exist in me. Right? And I said it and I wrote it and I was like, this doesn't really make sense. But it makes so much sense to me, and I can break it down because it's like it'll usually be friends, people that come around. Like I attract a lot of people, you know, because I'm really dope. people like me, and I like people. That's the difference. You know, I attract a lot of people because I genuinely like people, you know, and people feel that authenticity when they meet me. Like, yo, this is somebody who genuinely actually is engaging with me because she genuinely gives a fuck about me and not just going through the motions of how humans connect on the, oh, how you doing? Fine, fine, just on this surface thing. Like, I really care. Like, I do. It's always funny when you talk about yourself in these like, yeah, I'm really great, you know, I care, I really do, I'm a carer. But so yeah, so I attract a lot of people and I like people. So when I do engage, I engage on a level to where I want to build relationships, I want to build community, I want to do all of these things, but I'm very trusting. That's the African in me, the humble African. You know, the Africans are very, gullible and trusting, you know. So because I don't have any ill intentions around these people who come around, for these people who come around me, I don't expect that they have ill intentions, and I don't even think they will have ill intentions. But people's feelings and, you know, a way to feel about you evolve depending on the experiences they've had with you. So, you know, but I've been noticing this around my children to where, you know, people will really like come in my life, I attract them somehow, and then they build relationships with my children. It's a great bond. Like I don't have ownership on my children. That's one thing my father taught me, or one of the only advice my father ever gave me was just like, you know, I don't belong to you, you don't belong to me, we belong to God. That's how I feel about my children. In this society, people have this ownership on their children, like my child, and my children, and it's like the world revolves around their children, and they treat their children a little differently than they treat other children. I treat my kids the same way I treat anybody else's child. You bring your kids to me, the same way I yell at my kids, I'm gonna yell at them. The same way I love and hug my kids, I'm gonna love and hug them in the same way. The same intentions I have for my kids, I'm gonna have for your children. Like there's no separations. Like I treat my kids a little better. They're in my care, so I have a little bit more responsibility to them because, you know, I've born them and they're in my care. But as far as when it comes to nurturing and loving on just children in general, we just love children, you know. So I don't have that ownership on my children, and because I'm that way, you know, my kids are free in that way, you know, to where they don't feel that they're not burdened by what mommy needs them to do or mommy wants them to be a certain way. They're very open and free children, and because of that, they also attract a lot of people because people really like them, you know. But I'm not thinking that, you know, these people are trying to like bond with my kids and then just be like, fuck you. But that's what's starting to happen in a lot of situations that I've been having lately, to where, you know, people would just come in my life because of whatever I'm doing and that attracts them, to find bonds with my children. And then they start to go through their own breakdown of who they think Kanma is, and they're getting convicted by things that I'm doing because I'm moving in my truth and honesty and authenticity. And if you ain't moving in that and you're around me, yeah, you'll get convicted. And I'm not trying to convict you, you know, and I won't even say nothing about convict. I don't even know I'm convicting you because I don't know what you're dealing with. But people will come and try to break down the way that I operate and the way that I move because they don't believe that I operate and move that way. And when they come and they see that I actually do believe and move and operate in that way, then they try to break it down on some levels. And when they can't, then they become convicted that they're not being kind and sweet and generous and all of these things, you know, in some ways. And they become convicted by that just through me being authentic, convicts the inauthentic, right? So because of that, it turns into like, look at you. Look at you throwing up a mirror in my face. Look at you, look at you, look at you. And they start to hold these animosities towards me that I don't know nothing about, because they're still coming in my face. They're still laughing and joking. They're still hanging out with my children. But they're holding this hateful stuff. They're holding grudges. They're holding all of these things. And then I start to see the energies shift. And I always know what it is. I peep it. Once I see it, I see it, you know. But it takes a minute for me to see it. But instead of them, once they start feeling these things, instead of them saying just like, let me just separate myself from this, I'm feeling some kind of way, they continue their relationship with my children, continue to create these bonds with my children while acting like I'm not in the picture, like I don't exist. You know what I'm saying? Send my kids messages, give my children gifts, and be like send gifts through other people to give to my children and act like I'm not even there, you know. And it's just so rude, you know, and it's just so weird to me that people do that. And here's the analyzing of it. So the thing that attract them to me, because it's not my children that they meet first, they meet me first, and then they're attracted to whatever I'm doing, and then they meet my children. It's like, oh my God, your kids are so blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, so the thing that attract them to me, you know, it's the age-old story where it's just like the same thing that attracts you is the same thing you end up not liking about a person. You know what I'm saying? It's the freedom that you see a person moving that is so enticing, that is so attractive, because you want to feel free. You want to move. Like, I'm moving my freedom, you know. So people see that and it's attractive to them. But when you really around a free person, when you're really around a free person, you really think about if you really want to live a free life. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people thinking out here thinking they're free. You ain't free. You ain't free. When you live, and I know people ain't free because when they come around me, all their uptightness and all the things that they think they're free from, it shows up because I'm free. You know, there's a lot that holds me still, but it's just like some stuff that I can't control, you know. But as far as my mind goes, I'm free in a lot of ways, you know. And people don't know how to be around free people. People condemn free people. People convict free people. You know, people gaslight free people, you know, and it's all in their own insecurities and all of that stuff, because they're not doing the work. They see the work. They want to be that. They want to be the outcome of the work, but nobody wants to do the work. When you meet somebody who is the outcome, or at least, you know, at least striving towards that, you know what I'm saying? You want to bring that person down because you can't have it because I ain't got it yet. That's the mentality. You can't possibly be this evolved on this level because I'm not evolved on this level yet. So you have to be a fraud. And now I'm going to torture you and throw lies on your name and do this and do that to prove that you're a fraud, because I don't want to prove that I'm incapable of doing the work at this time, or I don't want to do the work. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of y'all. That this whole knowing who you are, knowing your value, like, and knowing your worth. It took me a minute to get here. I've always been this. Yeah. The process of being here, getting here, is a process of really like, am I really this? When I was 22, maybe. 42 years old. When I was 22, and I was going through I was around a lot of spiritual people, learning about a lot of spiritual things. And then by 22, I figured this out. I was just like, spirituality is really just figuring out why you do the things that you do. Shift if you need to. Get stronger in others if you need to. But at 22, I figured it out. Once I've gone through all this spiritual boot camp that I felt like it was, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I was always good. I was always kind. I was always generous. I was always open-minded. I was always all of these things. Now I know that I am that. Now I know why I am that. Now I know why it's necessary to be these things. And then you move in a different kind of vigor when you feel this, when you know why you are the way that you are, you know, and then nobody can tell you who you are. Nobody can figure out things for you or tell you this is, you know, somebody would say something about you and you'd be like, people who really know you will really know, like, that's not how you operate, because there's a consistency to how you operate now. When you understand, you have a knowing of who you are, there's a consistency in how you operate. So you show up in the world a little differently. And I'm recognizing that now. I ran away from that shit for a long time because I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to be special, you know. But it's not even because I'm standing out or I'm special. Like, I've taken the opportunity to do the work. Like, I do the work. And nobody's going to make me feel guilty for doing the work that they haven't done. Nobody's going to make me feel weird for evolving because you haven't evolved. And that's, this is a rant, but this goes all the way back to these people and the way that they come in my life. The things that attract them to me is the thing that they end up not liking. It's like the healing. They see this healed version of a person, and that's what they want. But when you come in my life and you see what it takes to be this way, what it takes to stay consistently healed, so what it takes to stay consistently kind and generous and really hold on to these things, and not throw foul energy out, and hold space for people, and I want nothing back. When it come in my world closely and they see what it takes to be that, then they start to question, why are you that way? Are you really that way? It's impossible to be that way. No, it's not. It's not. You're just not that way. And it's okay. Nobody asking you to be that way. But don't come for me when I'm trying to do what you can't do.